Weeks and weeks of play have led to this moment.
Playoffs is back and we have some surprises in store for you.
Absolute chills.
Everybody's so low for our peak check. Cookie!
There's a reason that Cookie was touted as the best soldier in EMEA.
Saints play this beautifully. Bomb sticks mid-air!
You gotta have supreme confidence in yourself.
There is so much to fight for, and I am stoked to see how it's going to really pan out.
I love this when the fight is dire, when players recognize when they must make a play.
Oh my lord!
I am so damn excited.
This is absolutely spicy.
Only one team gets to come away from this alive.
Now it's about their name. It's about their legacy.
Know when to take that risk, when to bet it all.
The Overwatch Contenders Summer Series playoffs continue right now.
Welcome back, y'all. I got good news and bad news. Here, which one you want?
Give me the bad news first so that we can leave it on a good note.
All right, bad news, I got a paper cut during the break. Good news, though, we got another match of Overwatch. And this one seems far more entertaining and less painful than my paper cut. We've got Afterlife taking on the likes of Saints in the lower bracket. This is shark-infested waters, though, here. Because we talked about it, Saints are going to be angry. They're going to come in full force here after, being rattled from a loss. But you also have to remember they're probably exhausted on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're talking about it's midnight here in North America, or at least on the East Coast where a lot of the players are at in Saints, that might not be true, actually. But nonetheless, we know that, of course, it's a little bit later, and that's going to go for both teams as well. Obviously, Saints are fired up after what was a very, very good match, so I can't imagine that they're going to feel like, oh, I need to go to bed, but it is still a long day, and it is still going to weigh on them as well as their opponents. But Saints know full well what they need to do. We've seen teams like Saints be in this position before. They're a dominant team. They're a strong roster. They take that L, and now it's time to turn things back around. Unfortunately for them, though, this Afterlife squad that they're taking on is absolutely no slouch. They're a team that has definitely found their identity in the Sigma composition, where they can play it. They do it often, and they do it well, and Saints should know that coming in, but nonetheless, I expect a great match between these two teams.
Yeah, there's plenty to be had here for both teams, but Afterlife especially, I think, has a lot to bring in this meta. We talk about the relevance of the Orisa composition, and Rhino has been piloting it very, very, very well. The win plan actually here for Saints for me isn't actually through that. Isn't through like winning meta, isn't playing solid. Like, the one thing we didn't get out of Afterlife was that much flexibility, right? They were struggling a little bit more on some of the other maps, and so that's what I want to see Saints kind of push on, right? More of those Numbani picks, more of those Gibraltar picks, try and capitalize where they can there, because there is one place that I believe Afterlife, if I take a look, I might have to go through, but I'm not sure if Afterlife have actually dropped the map one. Okay, they have, but they've been winning a lot on Control, as far as I know, with this Orisa composition.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the actual map that we see them going onto. Some maps are going to be better than others. Saints, on the other hand, though, we have seen some successes. We have seen some unfortunate defeats, and obviously in the last series, we saw them take L's on both of the Control maps that we saw them play on, but both of them were so close. I mean, there's a massive asterisk following that statement of them taking the losses there because it was just so close. And we're talking about potentially a team that could make it into grand finals. They just look that strong, and Saints were able to play them like that. Now, though, let's flip the script over to Afterlife. Let's talk about this squad that, again, we kind of have a pretty good impression of what this team is, what they're capable of, what they have been able to accomplish already, because, look, we've seen them multiple times now already. This is, I believe, our third look at seeing them compete in this knockout bracket, now on the lower side of the bracket, but they have been a good team despite the position that they're in.
Yeah, it feels like they're solid. They just need that last little thing to click, especially on the maps where they can't run this Orisa. That's where it feels like they felt a little bit more lost, but they do bring a lot to the table, a lot of experience as well. A roster that has a ton of pedigree from various teams across time, and for me, certainly could do it. I mean, Saints are down, lower bracket. Yes, they're going to be trying real hard, but they're going to be tired as well. This is, I think if there ever was one, the opportunity to knock Saints out of this. And believe me, you would be doing everybody else in the bracket a favor if you did so. Yeah,
I think Afterlife have definitely gotten back a decent bit of their confidence, especially on the maps that they like to play. You talk about, getting into map 2, map 3, map 4. That's where we see Afterlife start to take control, more so in the map 3 and map 4 stage, where we see them pulling out maps like Gibraltar, pulling out maps like Colosseo, actually. Colosseo being a very preferred map, I would say, for Afterlife, especially when they're able to pull out the Sigma composition. They have been absolutely unstoppable on Colosseo, so should it get to that length in this series, expect Afterlife to be pretty excited if that does come out. But I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here. We still have map number 1 to get into, and we do have that map selected now, ready to go. It is going to be Ilios that we're actually going to be heading into, and this is not a map that we see all too often right now in this meta. Obviously, when we look back at some of like the Winston-based metas, that's more going to be the pick that you expect to see. However, we're going to get it here in this one, so I guess now we have to do the old same kind of runaround, Door. We have to go ahead and say, what are we going to see on this map? Because we don't really see it all that often.
I mean, do we though? We see Treason for Saints, so you can kind of know what to expect there. If they were playing a dive composition, it likely would look very, very different. So as much as you could lean into it for maps like Lighthouse is still flexible enough where you can play the Orisa composition should you want to. Same goes for Ruins. So I don't think it's actually a bad bet at all to kind of lean into the meta composition. Yes, there is an opportunity to play a lot of dive here, but it's not necessarily a bad map for the current meta outside of maybe Will.
Saints just prepping things up. Yeah, I mean, Tree's in, so is King and Sam, so that does point us into at least one specific direction. Vega is here as well, so we could see the BAP. They could play that quad setup. Afterlife, on the other hand, we see Zira in the mix, no Haven. So when we did see that last time, was it yesterday? I think we did see quite a bit of that 4-hit scan sort of setup as well. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely on the board, especially with Rhino there. I think it is going to be more likely that we do see Orisa coming in, as opposed to something like, Sigma or anything else really for that matter. I will say, though, that if Afterlife want to really throw a curveball, there is opportunity here to play something like a Winston-based dive, and we are on a good map for that. Again, though, it has been a mixed bag in terms of results. A lot of teams are still playing the Winston in scrims, trying to make it work, and it has had some success. It just hasn't been necessarily always successful. And I think slowly but surely we've been seeing it actually falling out. So yeah, a little bit more likely that we see Orisa here.
Let's know what you think you're going to see, though, as we slow things down. I'm still riding the high from the last game here because I got to slow things down.
Yeah, it's hard to go from that into a whole new match where it's like, okay, we need to really just take it down.
The expectations. Look, I know almost everything we've played has been to a map 5, but hey, let us know where you think this one's going. 1 in the chat for Saints, 2 for Afterlife. Let me know what you think the score is going to be as well. You think it's going to go down? Do we get another map 5? Does Afterlife push Saints to the brink and maybe past it? Yet to be seen, but what Saints is doing will be. Know exactly what they're locking in. It's back to the good old faithful.
Yeah, no surprises here. Saints.
Do it, Rhino.
I mean,
do it. You
won't. We did talk to Rocket, and he said that he expects some changes to happen compositionally, or in whatever means that may be, whether it be switching out certain players or switching out certain heroes in certain compositions, same players or otherwise. Obviously, that's not going to happen right now. So everything that we just saw transpire, expect a lot of those same things to come out because there's just not enough time for them to make big comp-altering swaps. They need to make it work with what they had, and Afterlife obviously saw a lot of that. So let's see what they can do, knowing what Saints is going to be bringing in. And they're going to go head-to-head with these setups. Lethal, a little bit more pick potential here, but I think Saints are going to really like the way that they can work these off angles. Look at the flank, locked down by Saints already.
Yeah, False took a lot of that initial damage because they didn't have that flank quite set up, but once they got the health bar reset, it's in a good position. Lethal, though, looks to flip it on its head. Vega's down, and that's, most of the sustain that False had. If they focus on this tank, there's not much that Saints could do about it, but they've got Fix, and all of a sudden things are feeling a lot more even.
Yeah, pretty even, but Saints have control of the point. So if Afterlife want to stop this progression, they have to step forward, and it looks like Afterlife are going to be doing exactly that. Sierra does get the kill onto False, but still Saints are trying to hold their ground. I just don't think that it's going to be successful.
No, again, I think it all goes back down to that first pick, right? Losing Vega is a major hit to the sustain of that Orisa and how long she can actually last. She is invincible with 2 supports up, but not when that Baptiste is missing.
Luckily for Saints, Vega was still getting a ton of value once he came back into the fight, so we are going to be seeing competing Amp Matrixes coming into this fight. But look, Tree is way ahead of Fix, and that could actually... Oh, well, never mind. Now it's definitely not going to do too much.
Anna steps forward. Afterlife. It feels like they were studying the last match. They know exactly how to approach this, and there's a freshness to the way they're playing, right? I mean, they're not nearly as tired as Saints are. That can't be everything. They just look sharp. It's the only way I can describe it. The decisions are instantaneous. Saints a little bit slower, playing reactively, something that we haven't really wanted out of them, right? We expect them to play those flanks, control the map, but that hasn't really been the case. Instead, it's a Terra Surge blocking that flank for Afterlife. They're playing proactive. Saints try to respond with a flank from False, but again, with all this lob out from the Molten Core, wait, where is False? False is on a side quest, chasing down Zero. Oh my god! He's not even gonna get the kill. Zero holds the ground. What is this, Captive Sun by Tree? Now Tree's back here. This is, I'm not gonna lie, that was the least organized thing from Saints we've seen all night.
Yeah, a little bit disconnected and not something you see from them. I mean, I want to say all too often, but really, I mean ever.
Yeah.
And now you're going to see as well, on top of everything, Sam's going to go down. I mean, I think we talk about silver linings. I think one silver lining there is the fact that at least Sam extended that point cap, so it wasn't all that much lost despite being a massive stagger. Now Afterlife, though, still in control, spent heavily in a lot of these fights. Now it's Saints' fight to win if they can get Sam into a good position. Now, that hasn't been easy going so far against this Afterlife team.
Yeah, we've been saying it all day, but ultimates don't necessarily win you fights. Still have to have the mechanics to pull it off, and so far, Peter's showing up. Vega's down. You're going to need more ultimates, and Saints pull them out. They invest in Molten Core. Afterlife just back away. Oh my god, look at how calm and collected they are. It's decisive. False is low now. False is gone. Not enough healing to keep the Orisa up. Afterlife are clinical. They see Prey bleeding out, weakened by the likes of Wisp, and they're just vultures, Urix.
Yeah, they're cleaning up and now picking at the corpses of Saints who are just stacking up, piling on. More. False is now going to come in, but really, this is just delaying the inevitable here. This is going to be Afterlife taking this first round pretty handily. Despite 52% on the board for Saints, this was Afterlife through and through. And we talked about it with Rocket. He said that Saints are going to get serious. They had smelled their own blood in the water, really, and they're going to pivot, and they're going to be able to come back stronger. Unfortunately for them, not a lot of time to pivot between the last match and this one. And Afterlife are taking full advantage. 64% in favor of Saints. I would imagine that 36% used to be about 16 until we started seeing that first bit around one, and then it started creeping up.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have to give credit to Afterlife, right? They're playing really clean so far. But Saints, it does seem like they've been spun just a little bit. It's not the same quality that we saw in the last match. Winston comes out for Afterlife, and this might be even more to mess with them. False on the Diva, though, does offer up a counter dive.
Yeah, I do think Saints are going to be able to play this a little bit more defensively. Interesting here that we do see Illari coming in from Tree. I mean, obviously it's Tree. It's likely that we do see certain hit scan options, or at least the Zen being taken there, so maybe not necessarily the Brig, but that is, I would say, actually kind of an advantage for Afterlife if they can play around that and, again, keep sustaining Rhino, make sure that they give a lot of resources over to this Winston. That's what I'm going to be looking at. I mean,
the downside is Vega has, like, negative peel, right? Like, False can try on the Diva, but there is no juice box coming to save your life from that Brigitte. As Fix can...
The Tree doesn't really have peel either. It really just... It's False doing everything. Otherwise, that backline is getting disintegrated.
And that's the disadvantage of putting a DPS player on this flex position, right? It is a risk when you're talking about a meta where you need a lot of flexibility. False now put in a bit of a sticky situation where he's being asked to do an ton on this point and is simply unable to. Can contest it, but that's kind of at best.
We'll say Saints are doing a good job of just laying in that pressure. That is an advantage that they have. We obviously know the advantage that Afterlife has, but Saints definitely have more pressure with this composition, especially if they can maintain that high ground control and not let Rhino up there. Rhino's job is to make sure that he can accept as many resources as possible and get into a position alongside Lethal, maybe even Zira, to go ahead and push Saints off the high ground, create a level playing field,
Oh, this was
and
a
then
great
take
dive.
the fight from there.
Rhino just segments away Sam, who's low but not gone somehow. The Soldier really should have died. That dive looked perfect from Zira and Rhino, but alas, not to be had. Instead, changing their sights over towards the point where they can use a nano boost on Rhino and try and segment away this on it. Works pretty well, but it only trades evenly across the board. Afterlife need more than this. They have an EMP, but Hirix, we do not want to press that Q button. It's just too much of an investment. They've taken down the D.Va. They feel like they can win without investing anymore, but this is a major risk.
Oh, this duel could be huge here. Still Saints in control, though, as they're just holding off on these side lanes, and Afterlife just can't find a way to get any isolated targets and get a kill. They just can't find one.
Swoop in for King. Fix is dead. You know what? Maybe Fix is taking a long time to die, and that is huge. Even if Fix does go down, eventually, Saints still had to invest pretty significantly for that. Afterlife have a great position to fight back from. They have the entirety of the battlefield in their control. Yes, it went well for Saints initially, but I think, again, it all comes down to Fix just taking forever to die.
Yeah, that was so huge, pulling King completely out of the fight. Meant far more opportunity for Rhino, because that Echo isn't just laying into him for the entirety of it. Nonetheless, though, Afterlife now starting to get at least something going for themselves. Primal available for Rhino, and they're going to need a massive amount of juggling, but they can't even get it off.
Oh, God. He's blasting off again. That's all there is to it. Just as he exits the screen. Yeah, I mean, same time this one, you don't have a tank. There's not much you can really get done here. Saints should be able to take this handily. This is the dive map, though, Hirix. And the next one is what? We head over to Well next. Does spell pretty good options for Saints here. I mean, they should be able to clean up this monkey, no problem. Should be. Big asterisk on that. The contest is nice by Afterlife. I gotta give him credit where it's due. Fear will go down eventually, though. Meteor's back in. No ultimates up. Oh, Rhino down. Okay, yeah. No chance for this one. Saints get a third map, and it's Well. Back to what I was talking about, Hirix, before we had a little commercial break with that Primal. Yeah, honestly, Rhino doesn't think enough about us. Well, Well doesn't seem to be a great thing when you consider how that went.
Yeah, definitely. I think barring Afterlife recognizing all of the faults in their execution, I think Saints obviously, have a pretty distinct advantage, and they can make a couple of adjustments to this comp to make it work for Well. And it looks like they're making very few. Obviously one that makes a lot of sense, but very few in the grand scheme of things. For Afterlife, it looks like they're going to stick to their guns as well. And again, you would expect that this composition that Afterlife is running, it should be strong. It should be really good against Saints if they play it well. Meteor actually going to be swapping over to the BAP. That's going to be a lot better for dealing with a lot of that instant burst level lethality that's certainly aimed at Rhino, especially with Tree and Vega making, their picks that they have there. You see Rhino taking tons of damage almost instantly. BAP is going to be a little bit better for that, but still, Afterlife still need to find ways to get kills. They still need to find ways to get into that backline and do something.
I mean, this Echo is just such a major tool for denying Rhino. Yes, we talk about how much we can invest in Rhino, but countering focusing seems difficult. You need to get the kill, and Meteor does. King down, advantage Afterlife.
That's the BAP differential right there. Just living through with Immortality, then providing that extra damage threat as well. Just not this time. Immortality, I think, was still down, and Rhino got caught.
It's just on a nice edge when there's that much damage coming at you. The fight turns around. Saints now on the front foot. And False's health bar is up. I don't see a way for Afterlife to realistically turn this one around. Take a look at the swaps coming in. Rhino over to Orisa. I think we're getting a full swap. Vix might just chuck that nano down the drain.
I think if I'm Zero right now, I'm just going to go for this pulse bomb and get a reset as soon as I can, because the longer this takes, the less time you have on the composition you want to be on. Afterlife recognizing right now that this is not the composition that they want to be on. 44% and counting up right now for Saints as they're coming up on some combinations here. Captain Sun's going to be the big one here as Tree is going to have that available, and Afterlife are going to play a little bit more closely together with this composition, so Tree can get a little bit more value, but is caught.
That's exactly what they needed. Pulse Bomb shuts down Captive Sun, and it'll allow him to swap later. But let's talk about now. On the back foot are Saints. They try to fight back with a Kitsune Rush, but they've been pushed out of their own Kitsune Rush. Now, isn't that a sad sight? Spear from downtown from Rhino makes sure to assert himself over top of this fight. Afterlife, take charge.
Yeah, and I don't think Zero is going to actually swap. I think he's going to stay on this. They're close to EMP. Afterlife are going to be looking to try to set up that backline. So instead of going for like those 3-2 sort of setups that we've talked about and seen so very often, we're going to instead see kind of like this weird hybrid setup where Zero and Lethal are looking to actually connect on their dives. Rhino plays more aggressively, and it's Fix and Meteor probably playing together a little bit more with this particular composition.
Important question. Okay, never mind. Vega gets bursted down. Captive Sun out. Then to the back line. King's there to follow up. Tree getting a bit more done. But how do they find their way through after this? Because Rhino's going to come back, and again, Afterlife have far better control over this point, especially with the Terra Surge. A great Immortality Field keeps Sam up for now, but it hasn't gotten Saints back into this fight positionally quite yet. Lethal is chipping in damage from a side. Finally, Rhino goes down, and that's it. But I was really concerned with their here. Does EMP cancel Captive Sun? I have no idea.
Yeah, it should. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that might have become relevant, but it didn't, thankfully.
No, Afterlife, I mean, they do a good job of getting back into this one. It definitely feels far more competitive than it did when things were opening up. And still, we're slowly seeing those swaps being made. Lethal now over to the Soldier, but Zira still holding on to the Pulse Bomb, but has to get out alive, and I think did so without using the recall, which means the Pulse Bomb is available. They're looking for a connection here.
Zira's got it locked and loaded. Sam is going on quite the mission here. I mean, this better be a big visor. You have to make this count, right? Pops it. Shoots from the back. Lethal kind of just runs away, though. The most effective flank. Afterlife still have kind of all the space here on point with King drops low and Saints' position in a bit of a mess. They've actually regrouped behind Afterlife. Nicely done by Saints to find that moment in the fight to regroup, but they lost the point in the meantime. Now False working his way around the rest of the fight here. Finally clashes with Rhino, but not before King goes down, and that is a lot of the damage now lacking for Saints. The tool has been so valuable to them. Sam down as well. There's not a DPS in sight. Saints are at 99%, but I think Afterlife has got this one flipped.
They should be able to get this still, though. That kill onto Meteor means that Rhino can't get reset. Tree is eating everybody alive. Rhino just trying to stay alive here and does find Vega, but this is going to go the way of Saints.
I lied here, Ix. I lied. I said all the DPS are down, but Tree's on Illari.
You forgot they were playing 3 DPS. They're cheating.
Oh, what? I mean, they needed that one. What a way to buy yourself back into the fight. Yeah, they had one more after that, but that was certainly an easier way to end things.
And now as well, you talk about the advantage of, first of all, you're in loser's bracket. You just got sent to loser's bracket. If you went down 0-1, I mean, I can't even imagine where their heads would be emotionally. Obviously, you'd like to think that they're the type of players to be able to say, okay, we need to reset after that first match. Now we need to reset after this first map as well. But they're not even in that position. They saved themselves from that mental anguish, that torment that could have laid into them. This is definitely a big confidence boost. If I'm Tree right now, I'm absolutely shouting out to everybody that we've got this, because he locked it up in the end there, despite none of the other players being alive. And he still got it done. The Saints looks like they may be on their way back, but again, Afterlife, they're that team, man. It's going to be a tough battle either way.
And I'm going to be honest, I think this was not just a map that mentally and legitimately, I mean, just to get a map on the board that Saints needed to win. But Ilios is not a map that they should be dropping to Afterlife. Well in the Lighthouse are two good of dream scenarios for Saints to be taking on Afterlife in. And the fact that it was close on Well, I think is maybe a little bit worrying, but the fact that they got it is kind of all that matters here, because when we talk about how many of these go to 5, how important map pick is between these two teams in particular that are kind of stylistically opposed to one another, getting that first map on the board is massive, no matter how close it was.
I've got something, though. I wonder if this is just an outlier map, though, because, I mean, where else are we going to see these compositions being played, competing against one another? It's not going to happen for the rest of the series. We're going to be going into a map 2, map 3, map 4, where we're going to be likely to see more Sigma.
But it doesn't matter, because as long as you get that, assuming maps go back and forth and you still get your counter pick, you still have 3 and 5. Like,
yeah,
I think just getting the first point on the board in terms of map pick tempo is really important, even if you can't reuse the composition and set the tone in that regard.
Now, I will say, map 4 is where most of my concern is, because we know just how good Afterlife, if they can get map 4 pick, they're going to be able to send it to Coliseo. That is where I think Afterlife's strengths lie more than anything else. That's been their most dominant, most successful map so far in this tournament, where they've won it every single time. And not only that, but they've actually full capped it as well against Pip, who, is still sitting up in the upper bracket final. They're a very strong team that got dominated on that map. Not only that, but we saw Afterlife do it to Rift as well last night. So we go into a map number 2 now. It's moving on to Numbani. We shouldn't be too surprised by this, because we're talking about two teams that like to play Numbani. We saw Afterlife kind of open up the tournament by playing Numbani, pulling out the Sigma, surprised us a little bit, certainly less surprised now. I think the only question now is, are we going to see finally Sigma v Sigma? Because we actually haven't seen that. We've seen a Sigma team playing whatever else anybody else wants to play, but we haven't seen the two sides compete 1-to-1.
I just need to see somebody prove they can put up a defense on this map. Honestly, I don't care who, what, how, what composition they use. Everybody's been steamrolling Numbani on the attacking side, and I just need a break. It's not just been a lot of Numbani picks, but we've seen all of Numbani like 2 times over every single time.
Yeah, I think it was actually Afterlife that set the tone on that one, right?
It was.
Like 5-4 or something like that.
Yeah, it was obscene, and the time banks were ridiculous. And look, it very well could happen again. It might just be the case that, like, in this meta, that's kind of the tempo that we're playing at on Numbani. It's expected to have those higher scores, but the attacking side seemed to have no lacking capability of being able to maintain momentum from that first cap. And with Vision coming in for Saints, I think that's just another tool to help them out in that regard.
Yeah, I do like the fact that we're going to see a little bit more of Vision here outside of just playing on something like Circuit, because obviously we've seen the Vision differential and what that can mean to a team. You also see Iron coming in as well for Afterlife. This is an obvious one. When you talk about Vision coming in, it's probably something like, Hanzo. You could play things like Sojourn, but there's options. With Iron coming in, this is very obviously, we are going to lock in the Sigma. We're going that direction. Let's go.
Questions? What's after that? Again, we see teams all the time just playing musical compositions on this map, and it has proven very successful. I think it's a potent strategy for a lot of them, especially when we're talking about maintaining that momentum. You can do it quite cleanly to shift from one composition to the next, and you can actually maintain your ultimates pretty well because they all merge into one another quite seamlessly. I don't think either of these teams are really geared to do that outside of maybe Saints, right? False can swap should you want to, but I don't really see that much need. I think you just go for the honest-to-goodness head-to-head here, as opposed to what we've been seeing in a lot of the other matches where we get those swaps.
Now remember too, the defensive standing, like the way that you position defensively with this, right? You typically do a 3-2. You typically have your Sigma on that close side, locking up that choke, can provide support from afar on coast side. But now you're talking about two teams coming at each other with the same exact composition. Now, this is a very much different dynamic, I think, than what a lot of teams defensively are used to playing against with the Sigmas. I mean, if you're attacking with the Sigma composition, are you going 5 into 3, or are you going to be sending a flank of your own and trying to contest that? Because that's going to take time to set up. And it looks like Afterlife might actually, I mean, they're going to have versatility. They actually bring in Lethal on the Echo, which is going to be a lot of damage into a tank. Vision does what Vision does best, so there's going to be even more time. But I'm curious to see how they want to set this up, because again, with Echo, with Genji, Afterlife can play the flanks a little bit more aggressively and can actually make those rotations very quickly. So it might not be 5 into 3, but it also could be.
We'll see. Fix is just on delay for a little bit while Vision flunks away at them. They have to actually be very careful. Your Vision still doing some pretty serious damage off on that back line. Iron finally steps up and we begin to get our answer. They're going 3 in the front. There's a flank, I believe, coming with this from the other side. It's largely unsuccessful. False has just stopped this outright. Like, this is not the place where Afterlife will want to be sitting and staying. No. Iron gets shut down. The rest of the team to follow. That looked like Saints did not budge in the least.
Yeah, I don't think Saints really got down below half. Maybe False did for like a second. But it's like, okay, he has like 3 different cooldowns he can throw out to make sure, and also position behind the corner so that nobody from Afterlife can continue to damage him. But this is, again, this is the reason why I question this setup. Afterlife are forced into this style, more than likely. I mean, they can pivot a little bit, but it's more than likely that they're going to be stuck into this Sigma. So it has to, they have to make it work, and they're going to be trying to force all their adaptations into rotations. That's the only way that they can adapt the way that they're approaching this. And it looks like now this adaptation is going to mean splitting early. Instead of going 5 into 3 here, they're going to actually send the Echo off to the side. This is, I think, a much smarter approach.
Push down that other high ground. Now we can look to assault the high ground with False on it. Fortunately, they've got ultimates up first, and I mean, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Afterlife, yeah, you've got a Captive Sun and an Amplification Matrix, but you don't really have an angle to use it from. It's the problem. Your health bars are all incredibly low. Take a look. I mean, everybody is down at like 50 HP, yet Afterlife are still coming out on top. Oh my goodness. They had no right pulling that off. The health bars were minuscule here.
Do you think Lethal knows that he has a shift button? I'm starting to wonder.
I don't think Lethal knows how that character. I think Lethal picked the character with the gun and
that's fair.
And used the gun.
He's giving the ult charge over to his ally. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Afterlife do manage the cap, and again, love the way that they went ahead and adapted and got that flank working earlier to be able to displace that backline that's a little bit more vulnerable. But again, this corner hold, this is definitely Saints' probably best position to play from for the next 100 or so meters.
See whether or not they can capitalize here. Captive Sun out, both sides. Oh, this is going to be a wreck. Fix shot out of the sky by Tree, though. Zero follows up with the Captive Sun with the blade. Gravitic Flux means more investment from Afterlife. They spent bigger, but it's worth it, you said. That was the best place Saints had to hold. Afterlife knew so too. They knew it was worth the investment.
Yeah, now Afterlife can go ahead and take this high ground. We saw yesterday just how good Afterlife was in their rotations, and now they have the opportunity to take advantage of these rotations. So I like the position that Afterlife is in now. Yes, they spend heavy, but they're in a great spot to be able to take full advantage of this high ground, take full advantage of the fact that Saints have to push through them, knock them down before they can even take a fight.
You can see False is trying to push it out, but like at some point False has to drop here and leave those people up there exposed up against Iron in this Amplification Matrix. Yeah, this is not a fun place to be. False is eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner's worth of bullets. An easy push for Afterlife. Like you said, that high ground, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to win there. I mean, you still have Vision swapping to the Widow, finding a pick, and it's still impossible. There was no point, even after Vision got that pick, that I was thinking to myself, oh, Saints have a shot. There's just no point. Afterlife can easily take full control there. They spend what they had as well just to secure. Now they have plenty of momentum. This is where I imagine this is going to stop. Saints are back. This is that 100-meter mark where now they're back in a better position defensively, and they have ults to back them up. They have to win this fight here.
It's about the only place we've seen anybody hold on this map, save for maybe a couple of heroic attempts at holding point A right here. I mean, it's been so much pushing from either side every single time. Afterlife blowing through it right now. False dropped low. Ult's up for Saints. They don't want to spend proactively because they know that they want to take time off the clock, but if they give too much time away, Afterlife are going to come with ults of their own. Notably this Visor, which is already getting quite a bit of value onto Sam. Their own Flux doesn't really come up with too much. False can try here. Pairs it with the Captive Sun, and that certainly will be enough for Saints. Afterlife aren't done yet, though. Gravitic Flux out. they get anything? They get false. Zero gets one more here. You might be able to fight your way through, but no. All for naught. Afterlife spent. Maybe could have held a little bit better there, but Saints are pretty happy with the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, again, because they lost Sam early and they still were able to turn that fight around. Tree just doing so much work on this flank angle. I mean, again, a lot of this is going to fall to Sam to be able to own those sides. And when he drops them, it's fine because Tree's still alive. So he can just take over for him, I guess. Now Vision getting a big pick there. This is why you bring Vision into the mix, because he can offer up those kinds of things, finding the pick there. Afterlife are sent completely back, reeling, and you didn't have to spend a thing for it. This is really good for Saints now.
Also testing the luck just a little bit here. Ooh, oh, okay. Oh, God, that's really
more down.
Yeah, that's immortality down. That's the last thing you want to see. Look at this. Afterlife easily capitalized. Pop Cap the Sun, even though they're like 3, 4v5, they don't care. They know what they've got. They're going to spend big on it. Zero pops a blade, which might have been a bit overzealous, but it's not like Saints have anything to fire back with.
Hey, he got his one kill with the blade. That's all he needs to do.
Job done.
Never mind the fact that it was necessary or not. He got his one kill with the blade. That's all you're looking for with the blade.
How is Tree back? What is Tree doing back? This is like the second time in like the past 4 matches we've seen Saints that I've just seen Tree end up where I've never seen anybody before. Good deflect.
I'm not even sure the deflect even counted because he dashed through him and got the triple headshot. I think he died before the deflect even went off.
Look cool. Kind of formality at that point. Yeah. Afterlife get the take, but I think it was somewhat of an inevitability given Tree's geolocation.
Saints gonna have to do a lot to be able to match that. But again, I think Afterlife just really know this map well, especially with the composition that we see them playing. You know, that Sigma composition, they've really got it locked down. And not only that, but I think a good indication of a team that fully understands the type of composition that they're playing is the fact that they can adapt, they can make adjustments to their composition to make it make sense into what they're playing against. And Afterlife has done that to a T. We saw them coming into a lot of different matchups with this composition, actually, with Lethal and Zira playing something along the lines of a Soldier with a Torb. But obviously, that's not a good composition to play into basically what could have been a mirror, what was effectively the, I guess, meta Sigma composition. You're never going to get through that. So they make their adaptations, they make those swaps to the characters that make more sense, Echo, Genji, and they're able to capitalize with it. Now they can go back over to the comfort. Now they can go back over to this composition that's far better defensively. And again, that same question that we asked for Afterlife now has to be posed to Saints. How do you make this work? You obviously are playing for picks here with Vision and Sam, Hanzo, Echo, but how do you get this to open up? You have to find ways to open those flanks to allow any shot for Vision to even do something.
I disagree. I think Vision is very capable of doing things with the littlest of angles. And maybe it's not even Vision this time. The Tree opening things up. That's all you needed. Midor down, Iron, the fall. I mean, you can do what you will to open up those angles, but I think Saints just have so many threats in terms of damage, in terms of pick potential when you talk about the roster that they're bringing, that pick's borderline inevitable.
I mean, it's not over just yet, though. I mean, 2 ticks capped right now. I imagine they'll take, but Afterlife can hold that close corner, and I think now it's just a question of what does this flank look like?
Sam knows.
Obviously knows that he's there. So that gets locked out, but we still see Afterlife in that holding position off this front corner. This is still, excuse me, where Afterlife wants to play from, regardless. And I do think we're going to see a swap here from Saints. Yeah, there it goes. Sojourn coming in. I mean, really investing in big potential. There's the Soldier, okay.
Yeah.
The Soldier made far more sense. I was surprised that they were going to go that heavy into...
Better high ground control, better flank control, more damage towards the shield. It kind of does everything you want it to here, right?
Yep.
All right, Iron now holding this corner against even more damage coming in from the other side. If it wasn't difficult enough, I don't know if it could get any more so. Iron's down to all that damage. Lethal. What's in the water today? How do we get back there? Lethal's gonna go down. So Sam. Late trades on the Soldier. Overwatch 3 being played. It's 4v4. Meteor and Zera also taking the routing of all time. What is going on?
There's no way they win that. Okay.
I can't believe they got
sort of
one.
well in the world.
Zera just dropped and locked vision.
Vix is on a deep flank right now, too. Vix is way off to the side, gets seen, and gets killed. Okay.
I have never wanted like a top-down entire map more in my life. Lethal from the high ground, though, strikes a visor. Spot some clarity through the mess.
Actually gets the stop on Saints, too. Just, I mean, mere moments before Saints got the cap. And I think a lot of that actually came in because Afterlife was able to buy so much time and force Saints into positions that they did not want to be in, namely off high ground, which is where they were, off high ground. And obviously you can see Afterlife placing so much importance on that. They're willing to send Zera a little bit too far forward to hold that, and they're gonna probably pay the price for it.
Lethal's as good as dead, right?
There's no way
this is so
no
absurd.
way he does that with 5 HP.
Oh my god, Lethal was in the middle of the point, standing on the cart. Like what, 6-7 seconds with 5 HP? That's insane. They still lose eventually. Saints just have more to fire away at that point. Afterlife don't really have any ammunition to fire back. 4.5 minutes on the clock as we head into C here. A finish does not seem unlikely, but I don't think it ever did here. I'm starting to notice just a pattern. I'm going to start setting my expectations pretty low for the defenses on Numbani.
Well, I mean, EMEA can still be your saving grace.
You're so right.
Yeah, it could still do it. But yeah, maybe not so much in NA here, but we'll have to see. I mean, obviously there's still opportunity for Afterlife if they can hold it down. I mean, we talk about those 2 really important spots to hold. This is that second one, so if you're going to buy any time, it's going to happen here or it's not going to happen at all, obviously.
They didn't get the close hold, so they've only got one more spot to actually buy that time. Also opens things up, an aggressive grab flux. They don't pair it with anything, though. I think a little bit of patience might have actually been warranted there. Yeah, it opens the door for Zera to 4-kill play. Dive into the backline 5. Oh my god! It's been a minute. Nicely done by Zera, though. There was no response by the opposing side. Saints just, lacking in tools that wasn't just shooting him.
I'm going to say it right now. For the NA side of the tournament, that's the only 5K play you're going to see all tournament.
What do you want to put on that?
I mean, Zera's still in the tournament, so not a lot, but like, I feel pretty confident about it.
That's valid. No. Well, we'll see. Afterlife, if they can keep this thing going a few more maps, I could see it happening on some of the later maps, but this does feel like one of the last chances for it to happen. Saints, though, re-aggressing, lining themselves up. Afterlife saved a lot in that fight, though, having basically only used the blade. Yeah, there's a visor, but that's kind of bygones at this point. They kept 2 important ultimates to play into Saints'. This engagement is going to be huge. Initial amplification matrix just for space by Saints. Afterlife hold the ultimate advantage now. It's a matter of when. Lethal gets better of Sam on the high ground, though. And they lost high ground. I mean, we talked about it a million times before. That high ground is so important, and now Saints don't have it. They cannot win this fight without it.
Backing off now, especially because Tree's down. Saints have hit that brick wall. Positionally again, Afterlife taking full advantage and playing aggressively on top of everything. We talk about the adaptations that get made by a team that is very confident in their setup and knows the
Oh god! Oh wait, Iron's in the middle of 5 people. Hold up.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too confident, maybe a little bit too overzealous.
Immo's out. Meteor's here to help. No way. No way you turn this around. That's a big captive son. Oh, don't. It's bait, Fix. It's bait. Good. That was measured. I don't know if I would have had it in me to not dive into that room of 3 people waiting for me. Saints, though, fire back nevertheless as Afterlife still have not left their hidey hole here on the side lane. It might have been last fight. There might be one more in the tank, though, for Afterlife.
You're going to see Gravflux Captive Sun still ready here for Saints. I mean, Afterlife, they're going to be hard-pressed to live on the objective, even if that combo only gets 1, maybe even just 2 kills. that could be enough, and it looks like they've already got it without it. 105. We've got a 2-second difference between these two squads, and I guess your worst fear has been realized, and that defenses just can't make the stop, man.
Look, man, it's a fun map. There's a limit. Oh man, I mean the play has been incredible by both sides. I'm loving the innovation that we're getting on Numbani. It is fun to see, but the first team that figures out how to put up any defense at all deserves an award. That's all I'll say.
Ataraxia is right there, man. So you just gotta hop over to the other
first
side.
First and 18. That's
Nonetheless, we'll see it go into OT. Last time we saw this occur with Afterlife.
Put up what, a B hold?
Yeah, I think a B hold. They got 5 points if I'm not mistaken. I think they got it right to the end of B and then made their stop. So
yeah, 1 minute's not a lot of time to cap A. I mean, last time we did this, what, like 2-3 minutes aside? 1 minute for the A points that we've been seeing out of these two teams, with the kind of shakiness between whether you're trying to attack into false or just not get picked by vision. I see this as a pretty rough situation for Afterlife.
They're going to be attacking first, open things up. I mean, this is going to be the same style of composition here, rather the same composition, actually. Again, we have to ask that question. What is the approach? It looks like they are going to be starting things off the same way that they actually found success the first time around. Which means, of course, that we're seeing those two, I guess you could say, flankers. Genji's definitely one. We know that Illari is one now, and Lethal is going to become one as the Echo. They're just waiting for those cooldowns to come up, and they full send Kosai, but Fix is already dead.
It felt like they were just waiting so long in the forward position. It's not over yet, though. Vision dropped low. Focusing beam from Lethal. Almost got a second. Afterlife have to call if they get one more chance. If that. Oh.
They have time. They have time to get there. It's just unfortunate because they don't have time to set up the fight, and that could be the death knell. As Zira is going over to the Tracer. So no Genji. They can't actually encroach on Kosai. They're going to have to go ahead.
There's nothing to take this high ground. You're so screwed. Dude. You can't fight. You're going to walk onto A Numbani on low ground and pretend you can actually take this? Yeah, okay, no chance.
Yeah, that first dive has to work or it ain't working at all with that kind of time bank.
The stagger was huge.
The staggers, exactly, yeah.
That one onto the Echo. Ugh. Nightmare stuff.
So 0% progress made. That means this is, of course, drawable. But beyond that, it also makes it a very clear picture for Saints right now, because they know they have a minute. They only need the first tick. So that could actually alter the way that they want to find a pathway forward, right? Because they could actually change things up where instead of full winning the fight, they could actually play someone low ground at some point. They can actually rotate to that position and just actually force the contest from Afterlife, or force Afterlife to have to play more aggressive to clear the point earlier, which might pull Afterlife off of their better positions up top. Now, I don't expect that to happen, but it's a possibility here. I think Saints would be wiser rather, to go ahead and play it the exact same way and just hope for those picks to come in. Worst case scenario, you have a draw.
Hurix, it's an FPS game. Vision's just gonna shoot him in the head. That's like that's.
Well, it wasn't even Vision that got the opening pick last time.
Yeah,
it was
but
Tree.
Like,
so.
it could be. You got Vision and you got options. Is all I'm saying. Like one of them, it's a coin with two heads on it. What do you want? Yeah, I mean, exactly. I don't even, any other team you point at them and you're like, oh yeah, just play for the pick with a minute on the clock. But like, that's a very reasonable thing for Saints to do.
I'm seeing in chat, Fix is the spilliest. I think we had a water spill is what happened here. Fix spilled water on his keyboard. Things got a little bit too excited, exuberant, and
I think at this time of night, we're operating on energy drinks, Hurix.
Yeah. Well, they specifically said water, so I mean, you're wrong there.
I suppose. I'll admit I'm wrong there. Gives them a minute for Afterlife to figure out what they want to do, though. And a lot of it comes down to just diligence for these two, right? And being able to hold that long without giving up the pick. Because I don't think Saints are changing their game plan. Like you said, find the pick, get the point. It's pretty straightforward for them. If they don't do that, it's not going to happen because they don't have the firepower to push through that initial high ground with just the Sigma. You're counting on those flankers to come in and find value.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main things that I'm just so caught up on right now with this composition, especially when you're talking about having these mirrors. Obviously, we have seen a couple of the Sigma v Sigma, but it hasn't really happened throughout the entirety of a map. So we're really kind of getting our first really, really good look at high-level Sigma v Sigma, talking about point A approaches and where, again, it's all on a knife's edge. It's you get the pick or you ain't winning. That's it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no other way around it. You're not likely to win through rotations unless those rotations are clearly set up for you getting a dive, getting a pick, if you're playing like Afterlife. Now, Saints, not necessarily the same case here. They're going to be playing slow. They're going to be playing back, trying to slow the game down a little bit and just wait for that pick to come through. Fortunately for them, if they sit there and wait for 30, 35 seconds and then it doesn't work out, well, guess what? That's it. There's probably not another fight happening.
I've been brainwashed maybe into just not believing that there's a world where you have a team with vision and tree on it that's incapable of finding a pick somewhere. Already the backline dropped pretty low by the hybrid spheres from False. Shadow position. We'll get that. It's just a guarantee. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a guarantee. This A point was just meant to be had by Saints. They'll cap it over, take themselves a second map under their belt, and hopefully for them, they want to end this night a little sooner rather than later. Afterlife acts against the wall, though.
Yeah, I will say Saints do have the benefit of having 3 absolute dogs on their team somehow in the lineup. I'm not really sure how they fit that many on the roster, but they found a way, and it's by putting one of them on
They saw
support.
Laurie come out, and they said, we can put more of them in? They were, you know the cartoon villain, like, twiddling their fingers together, like, watching the reveal trailer?
4 literal demons on your team, and you somehow managed to get most of them playtime on a single map. Unbelievable. Saints, just
it shouldn't work. It shouldn't. I see you like your logic is too much. It's too much. I need you to let go. It's the FPS game. Shoot them in the head. That's all they're gonna do.
It's the perfect meta, honestly, or it should be the perfect meta for Saints because, like we talked about with Zolik, on day one, it's kind of the shooter's meta. If you are able to just out-aim the opponent, this composition should work out for you. And Saints have, an absolute smorgasbord, man. It is a cornucopia of the best and brightest in terms of DPS, and they can just throw one onto Alari, and they can throw one onto Zenyatta. They can make anything happen, and it makes a lot of sense. Now they're up to, well, I will say, though, just like we said in the last series, and I'm not saying that it's going to go the same direction, but we said the same thing. There is an asterisk here. This has been a lot closer than a 2-0 would otherwise suggest going into a break, and I'm excited to see if Afterlife might be able to turn this back around. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for map number 3.
There are days I will always remember when the sun and the world were bright. Solar energy filled all our needs, but only a few could bring the sun's power into themselves. These were the Inti warriors, but we call them the children of the sun. They aided our people in so many ways, as providers, healers, and in times of danger, our protectors. I was always told I would become a warrior, a big responsibility, but I had a gift that could help my people. So, I trained. At last came the day they said I was ready to join their ranks and embrace the sun. There are days I will always remember. Was it my fault that no one knew the true extent of my power? To this day, I still don't understand what I did wrong. But it doesn't matter anymore. I will make up for what I've done. Because I am Iliari, and I am the last child of the sun.
And welcome back, y'all. We're 2 maps down. Afterlife is putting up a good fight, but it hasn't been good enough to put any points up on the board. 3 is looming over their head, and it's Watch Point Gibraltar. We're Saints to look to close things out.
Yeah, Gibraltar's an interesting choice as well. I mean, Afterlife, this has definitely been a comfort pick. We talked about this before, about how Colosseo is probably the comfort pick, but secondary to that, and probably right behind, is Gibraltar. We see them go to this map quite often, and I would say every single time we see them come out with that Sigma composition. We saw them do very well against Saints for the most part on that last map there. I mean, they got Nubani real close. Fortunately, just fell a little bit short towards the end there, not able to collect on that final point A take. But, I mean, I still like the look here. You're playing up to Saints. You're playing them very close. And you go to a pick that you should feel pretty good about. Let's see if they can turn things around.
I don't know, man. Pip kind of picked it apart when we saw it last time, right? Remember we were talking about the Orisa composition on A and how it was pushing underneath with ease and how there's little they could do to actually contest it. I think they're going to try to run it again, and hopefully they've found some changes to make since that initial take, but Pip did very well. Just kind of running the standard composition, grouping up on cart, and saying, okay, yeah, your Sigma composition's cool. You've got a lot of poke, but as far as presence goes, the Sigma can't actually provide that much because he needs to be contesting that high ground. Otherwise, you're just going to be staring up at where the fight actually is.
Yeah, I will say maybe there's a way to go ahead and put a caveat on that and say, look, Pip is like one of the best teams. It's certainly one of the best teams at the Orisa comp specifically. So you may not see the exact same thing out of Saints.
Honestly,
maybe
I think it's a
you could say that
game plan. I think it's not a hard counter pick to execute, if that makes sense.
I don't even think that Saints are going to consider this to be a counter pick to them, because they're just going to run the exact same setup. More than likely, we're going to see Sigma v Sigma again. Not something that I anticipated seeing, 48 hours ago. I wasn't expecting to see so much Sigma. It was definitely something that was in the mix. I heard it being talked about. I didn't see scrims of it personally, but I knew teams were kind of working on it.
Not nearly as much as we've
see it as much.
Yeah, exactly. It's a volume thing more than the fact that we've seen it at all. Not to mention a mirror matchup on this map. Like we said, there's plenty of option there for Saints to go it. But I think there's also a certain air of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You won the last map, just take that to the bank. Lock it in again. Should be all right. Vision. Hanzo to take on Lethal on Widowmaker. Thera, Sam, both on Genji. So some nice follow-up for either side should they hit those body shots respectively and they need the follow-up. The only other curious thing here is that Vega's on an Ana, which I think has a little bit more liberty to be played given the defensive position and the high ground that they've got to play from.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot more distance for Saints, and we'll see what they can do with it. I mean, it's certainly going to be a little bit harder to get value when you know that the Genji could be coming at you at any point, and at the same time, you've got lethal as well on the Widowmaker, but with enough distance, Widow isn't even lethal. There is fall-off damage on that character now, so maybe that could play a factor here.
You're forced forward to try and help Iron. Half HP on both the Sigmas, but False has had the better of them gotten. Sam trying to drop away to that card. Zero somehow allows it to escape, but doesn't matter too much. The rest of the team will eventually be here to help pick up that kill.
Afterlife going to go ahead and easily maneuver their way through. Still probably have one more fight left to try to lock in point A right now, but again, we live on the knife's edge. It could go either way, just depending on the pick, and Tree just making things real dangerous with this high ground hold and full sending it across the side. That is insane. Okay.
That was the most extreme game of Frogger I've ever seen. Really thought he was going to cross the road, but alas, not to be had. I don't think you can realistically win this one 5v4. Yes, it's a shooter's game, but there's more of them on the opposing side, and with a lot more health to work with. False down, no contest. Afterlife got this.
Point A captured. Great timing there as well. Now it's about getting that high ground. We know ship control is massive value for the team that can get it. Iron just trying to sprint his way up there, try to get there as fast as humanly possible, set the rest of those backline up into position as well. And Afterlife do claim the spot, so this definitely should help them. Unfortunately for them, Saints right underneath them, actually kind of sending them packing as well.
Afterlife has dropped and put a ton of damage in. Holy amplification matrix, Batman. This is aggressive by Afterlife. I don't even know if you could do that much. This is the slimmest amplification matrix angle I've seen in my entire life. Yeah, this is an easy disengage for Saints, who now just push back with everything that they've got. Just cooldowns and full HP bars, but that's more than enough to take back the shuttle. Afterlife now have to find a way to re-aggress, but they don't really have any staging point or a Genji to dive in onto it, so it's very, very difficult.
Oh, Sunstruck. Okay, good night, Lethal. Yeah, Saints now. I mean, I think they can stabilize here. As long as they can keep Sam alive, they can contest from the bridge here. Yeah. No problem. Wait for their respawns to come back. And it's just going to be about the race to get there. And maybe Sam with the blade, I mean, again, just has to get one kill, right? Just needs the one.
See about that second 5K. Sam locked and loaded. We want to go with this, though. The hold is clear. Ship does belong to Saints, at least for the time being. Iron and False are fighting for it, but there will be no victor between two Sigmas. Ravidic fluxes a lot, but it catches Tree out of position. I love the opportunistic ultimate there from Iron. Now has False caught out as well. Sends them packing with a rock. The blades traded. Zero spent theirs earlier. Sam takes his turn, gets his one. That's enough to actually make this hold happen, though. I think that initial flux by Iron was just so good.
Oh, there's the cap, too, right in front of Saint's face. I think Sam, a little bit of disconnect there with the rest of the team in terms of timing to get back to that payload and try to go for a contest. They got the opening pick, too, so there was at least a chance that they would have been able to get a hold there. Now, not so much, and it looks like Afterlife are just going to be poised to go ahead and maneuver their way to this next corner. And we talked about corners so much throughout this meta already, and this is just yet again another one that's so important defensively, especially when you have those longer range threats like Vision on the Widowmaker. They need to get value in this position here, especially knowing full well that there is a massive time bank that's they're playing against.
That one pick from Vision actually allows them to take this high ground much more aggressively, which leads into a second pick, because again, Afterlife are kind of just shooting up a lot. It's a very uncomfortable position to be in. Sam picks off another, and it's just bit after bit. They're chipping away at that time bank, Curix. Yes, it's a lot for Afterlife, but there is a very real world where Saints put up a hold here.
It's all down to positioning. That's going to be key. It's maintaining that hold. A lot of that's going to come down to Vision still winning those duels, but definitely gets a lot easier when you're not going ahead into the 1v1. but I do think this composition for Afterlife is far superior for them in this moment. So much more difficult to get into vision space and try to make something happen, and that's exactly why he'll just shut it down.
Yeah, it's just Visor. Saints are holding honestly, a full house. Got everything they could ever need. Captive Sun to combo with the Flux, Amplification Matrix to hold the distance. There's so much here, and I mean, what engage tools do you actually have for your Afterlife? Everything can be disengaged just by backing away from that corner.
Yeah, that's why that corner is just so important, because you don't need to spend as much. You can force Afterlife to actually overextend, and when they do, they're going to be exposed. They don't have the same overhealth that they would have with other support characters or support heroes, so Vision can always just hit a headshot and just lock something down.
Which, as we've learned, is a pretty reliable tactic.
Yeah, it's an inevitability. It's not a chance, it's a guarantee.
I'm glad we're on the same page now. All right, Afterlife step up. Which ultimate do they pop first? Because they will have the first go of things here, almost certainly. Blade, Captive Sun, Grab Flux, another Captive Sun. Holy cow, it's everything at once, but Vision, despite not having popped an ultimate, is the one who shows up in the kill feed. That is insane. Sam pops a Blade now, is looking for more hack and slash. His backline shows up for 2, which is about double what we're normally asking for of these Blades, so good stuff for Saints.
Yeah, they once again proved successful on this hold, and now Afterlife are going to come into this with Grab Flux, but I think the big thing here is Afterlife are going to have to rely, with a minute left right now, at least for the next fight, on Lethal. If Lethal can find some way to get a pick against this composition, which I would say is a little bit harder against the Sigma as opposed to the Orisa, where we've seen a lot of Sojourns get success, it's still going to happen. Otherwise, Afterlife are probably stuck in this corner forever.
And Matrix is out. Lethal, 1. We need more than this, though. It needs to be a big win for Afterlife. Has gotten on top of Vision. That's enough. Pushes the entirety of the backline out. They need one more fight.
Still should be a fight that they do have a decent shot at. Positionally, they're in a far better spot. But Saints are going to be coming out. They can contest. They should be able to get into a decent position. There they go.
You're poking around the side lane. Lethal, again, kind of has to show up here. This is where the picks come from. Same goes for Vision on the opposing end, but this is the kind of moment where you expect Vision to show up with False down. They need him more than ever. Sam connects the first headshot. Vega to fall. Trades either way are better for the defenders, but there's just more of them for Afterlife.
Oh, and they get there at the end. I mean, only a second and a half to spare, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things for an escort. Very close, though, for that Doomfist to come back. Especially with those trades coming in, that could have gone the other direction very quickly. But nonetheless, Afterlife get the job done. And again, just showing off the difference in what these compositions could look like with this setup. With, you know, starting off with the core of effectively just Sigma and Illari. I mean, yeah, you could say BAP is a mixture of that as well. But for the most part, it's just those two locking up the core and then adapting everything else that you could possibly need around those two.
My question now just kind of lies in, is it the same the other way around? The Sigma v Sigma matchup has proven very difficult for the defending side, virtually no matter what map we're on. But does it go the other way? Like, I just need to know, is it an Umbani curse or is it a Sigma v Sigma curse?
I have to say, I mean, we did see Afterlife finish, and I will say on Gibraltar that is a major feat. So
they had
I'm not going to call
minutes
curse
going
into
C. Like it was a hefty time bank.
Yeah, Saints did a great job of locking out the corner. Now though, Saints are going to be on their attack. Afterlife. We talk about the adaptations. We talk about the differences that Afterlife can bring to the table. That just switches up how Saints have to play. And the big thing here is going to be Tracer. Zera on that one. Just something else. I will say that this backline that Saints have should be pretty decent into the Tracer. Should be being the key word there, of course. I mean,
we've seen a fair number of Tracers try and fail to take out Illari. That character is built
very hard
to shut down Tracer. Because what? It's headshot shift, and she's just like, Onzo. I think that, nevertheless. Also contest this high ground up against Iron. There's not much ground to be had here. That's pressing. Maybe there is. Iron's drops real low. Shielded off the resources. Not insignificant amounts of ground being flamed here by Saints. False is definitively getting the better of the rest of Afterlife, has pushed them all the way out of the room. Vision capitalizes on the other side. What a push by False!
That was incredible. Great job by False, just working his shield so well. Great rock as well coming in, just to displace Iron. I mean,
he just manhandled Iron. That was, of all people, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Iron did a fantastic job dealing damage, obviously getting a ton of pressure out, 90% towards the ult. Clearly was able to get a lot of value there, but False did just such a good job of creating openings for Vision and also working his angle. They won the tank battle despite Iron doing all that damage, and now they're going to win the point along with it because of that. Just, I mean, pure momentum off of a couple of picks. Vision is doing what Vision does and finding heads.
And nobody dares contest.
Zero did.
Zero did. Has a deflect, so I'd be pretty confident too. Now it doesn't have one and is notably not trying to contest this too much. Monster Arrow will do it, and Vision would be happy to deliver. Oh, gets the deflect! Zera shows up, waits for the cooldown, and then decides to take on Vision yet again.
Almost got him with the one shot, just didn't have it fully charged. Afterlife, though, they do get a stop for a little bit, but with these trades coming in, I think Afterlife are eventually going to have to fall back just a little bit. Okay, maybe not so much anymore. That kill onto Vega might have solidified this defensive hold, actually, and that it does. 4 minutes, actually slightly over 4 minutes still. So Saints, yes, they get stopped, but they still have plenty of time and plenty of economy to work with as well. Afterlife in a similar situation, but again, ship control is key here. So Saints, with their resources, that's what they're going to be looking to go for. At least pushing off the members of Afterlife that are on the ship, and I think Vision has done already a pretty decent job of that.
Shots go through. Actually, I think Vision did a pretty good job, but it seems like Afterlife are adjusting to Vision's existence and trying to use this mega room a lot more than the ship. And that feels like a pretty good call, because they can rotate to the ship quickly should they need to contest it. But sitting in that ship and sitting on the bridges while Vision's just, you know, plonking away arrows at you, I think it's maybe not the greatest idea, and Afterlife have recognized that.
See Dragon Strike at the ready, but
this is a
can't really pull that off from where he's sitting now. So I think Vision needs to get into a better spot before we see that actually expended. Now Tree actually extending forward. That's going to be Sam to follow up as well. Fix is in trouble, but has Captive Sun.
It's deflected back at Zera, who's now got to be careful with the blade. That was effectively 2 ultimates canceled with the 1 deflect. Sam deflected away the Captive Sun, denied the Captive Sun, also hit the opposing Genji, who was blading, which stopped him from blading. Really nice.
Fix looking to hunt down a member of Saints, but might have actually caught himself in a bad spot. It indeed goes down. Afterlife trying to reel back. It might just do it.
I feel like in the first couple days, we've seen a lot of limit testing with Illari, right? It's clearly a hero that we expect to see on the flank quite a bit, but we're starting to learn where the limits are. Certainly one of them. Lethal down, though, for Afterlife. Makes his defense a lot harder. False just take the progress. Knowing full well that they've got ultimates to hold these chokes with, which is the big thing that they're looking to utilize here. You see Vision throw that dragon through the ship to make sure Zera does go down. An Implication Matrix is kind of a drop in the pond in terms of real firepower that's being used here. Iron's going to go down almost certainly, and C-Point will be had. Question just what's that time bank looking like? 3.5. Oh boy, if I ain't seen this before, Yurix.
I think we had a little bit more actually for Afterlife, but we'll see what Afterlife can do. We know the importance of where they want to play from. Now Saints, though, they're going to go ahead and take high ground early. This is incredibly smart from them to get into this position early, make sure that they can contest Afterlife, trying to get into their spots. It's all just going to come down to some of these duels, especially in the sides. Over here on the flank, you can see Sam working his way forward. Has to be careful, gets taken down.
That is massive for Afterlife. The same thing happened in reverse on the other end. Oh my! Holy cow, we're going in. Didn't get the melee off. Tries to burst down.
There was a heal.
Did they
there.
trigger it? They did, yeah. Now has to contend with Zera, who's still not going to give this position up anytime soon. The rest of the team's taking on a fight regardless, though. Tree is the star.
They're going to take this here, or it looks like they're going to take this. They have everything they could need. Blade at the ready. Afterlife have to push through. They're going to go for it. Here comes the blade. They don't even need it. That time bank, incredible. Ended with just about 213. So now with the time bank going up, it's 1 minute to over 3 minutes here. That definitely was Saints really carrying that momentum forward. And again, all comes down to just being in position early to deny that corner hold. And I think a lot of that really did come down to Trey just winning that random duel against Zero.
Oh, yeah, it was not just Zero, right? It was Zero and whoever was on the flank with Zero, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But Zero had gotten that initial pick too, which is the crazy part. Like, that should have allowed them to retake the high ground and kind of solidify the position, but, you know, Tree exists, so your positioning and strategy does not matter.
It's funny that that's exactly what we were saying at the end of Numbani as well. I mean, it doesn't matter if Vision doesn't hit the shot because Tree exists. He'll hit the shot. It's
like
fine.
One of those two will show up. It like both of them are it's like you got two coin flips, two 50-50s, and you just smashed them together. Honestly, I'd hardly call either of them 50-50 or coin flips. They're pretty consistent.
I think the interesting thing too, I mean, beyond that as well, is the difference in this series as opposed to a lot of the other series that we've been seeing, or rather the one series that we saw with Saints, but more so a lot of their other matches, is the fact that Sam is finally able to play the game and not be under constant pressure trying to hold angles solo sometimes, and everything rides on his ability to win 1v2s. Things are made a lot easier when you're able to have a different matchup and you're able to have Vision next to you. It seems like Sam's tends to do a little bit better when Vision is just making everything a 5v4.
Yeah, most things do tend to be easier 5v4. That's great analytical insight. No. Yeah, Vision likely to deliver another one pretty soon here. They're getting stuck up on that bridge. That is not where you want to be. That is open Widow sightlines, and it is hunting season for oh no, we left Lethal behind. Okay, we're good. A Home Alone-esque scenario found for a moment, but now at 13 seconds on the clock, the game plan has to change massively for Afterlife. They have to go to that cart, but then you just allow Saints to have the high ground over top of you. It's a lose-lose situation. You need someone like Zira, Lethal, to show up on that high ground to buy you a couple of kills. They get one onto Vega, but you need that tank. You need False to go down. A rock onto False. Maybe they've got a chance here. Sam firing away at Iron, but is unsuccessful. Saints got a little bit disorganized towards the back end of that fight, and that was all the room that Afterlife needed.
They full committed onto Iron when they had that backline fully exposed. It was vulnerable. Nonetheless, Saints still have opportunity to come back. It's not over just yet, but it's certainly made more difficult by the fact that Iron has Gravitic Flux and can actually push into whoever he wants to.
We need to no. We need to be shielding this high ground. Block off the Vision sight line. No! He plays for the Sigma 1v1. Gets the better of False. I hope it was worth it. And it is. Afterlife. Take it at the end, but oh my god, I saw that Vision kill come through and I thought it was over for certain.
Vision was there. You see the Captive Sun coming up. Blade was coming up as well. It's all available now.
That was as ugly as it gets. Still got it though.
And now they're going to control ship. Remember, they can't send everybody up top at this point. Someone has to stay with this payload. And what that means, at least for now, is that Zira is going to be up there unless someone swaps with them to sub for that position. They're going to be out without the Genji, which means Vision should be able to just be shooting fish in a barrel.
In theory. Is that Captive Sun? Comes up over top. Pops it in. Slow going. Look at the car progress! I mean, I don't... you won, but you didn't. You won the fight, but like, oh my god, that was way too much.
Yeah, I mean, that gives
B in three quarters?
really good chances defensively for Afterlife. Like 3 really solid fights that they can take.
Dude, pick, man. You just expect stuff like this from Vision. Credit to Afterlife, though. I mean, a 1 minute time bank has all of a sudden become a lot more reasonable. 3 minutes, as much as, you know, we've seen pretty quick pushes of A and B so far on this map, 3 minutes could be enough here.
Yeah, especially with the way we saw them pushing on their first attack. I mean, I definitely wouldn't count Saints out at this point. And remember, this is match point, so Afterlife need a stop. I mean, it's it's either make a stop or you're, I mean, literally out of the tournament. So obviously there is a lot of pressure on the defending team now, but they did a great job to set themselves up with what was an abysmal time bank in comparison to Saints and what they finished with. But nonetheless, much better position now. Saints know where they have to get in order to find their way forward into the bracket, further along where they want to be, where at least one other team expected them to be, and they get it done here.
Keep it high, no surprises there. Saints put Sam back in on the Genji. No changes across the board for either end. Comes down to picks and fights. You said it, they got about 3 in them before they start worrying about that final yellow box. Now it's just fighting on that high ground. This is the big thing that a time bank advantage gives to them. It's not on the B point, it's on this A point. Not having to contend that cart so heavily with all your members is huge for being able to assault this high ground properly. You can see just how difficult it is. Fix already getting pressured out, dove by the likes of Vision, who is on a really deep flank with the likes of Tree.
You can see them trying to go for control. If they can actually win these duels here, that'll be the point for sure. But they do get backed off. Afterlife does a great job of sending them backwards, but unfortunately they lose Lethal. He was still stuck there.
I mean, Tree has just delivered the most convenient picks time after time after time again. It's not even like the most Solari picks that we've seen. They just come exactly when they need them.
Here's going to get a health reset here. Now has to 1v1 Sam. You expect that Sam should win this. But
they missed the dash. Oh my god. That's insane. That's insane. And they get a contest for this. They pulled them so far back. Wait, Iron's got a real shot. Zero with some fancy Genji forward. Got another third. Okay, it might not be a Blade 5k, but that was, I think that was arguably way more impressive. Oh my god, it's a 5-stone, no, Sans Blade. That was way more impressive than the Blade earlier.
We talked so much about all the clutch potential on Saints. I mean, we're just not giving enough credit to Zira. Now you look at this time bank, things are looking a lot better. 28 final blows, that's crazy.
I mean, that is a ridiculous statistic. Out of 33 kills. Like, that's not even just out of a lot of eliminations going on in the lobby. That is out of 33 eliminations that Zira's touched. Ultimate's coming up for either side, though. It's volatile as they come. Which team wants to fire first? Saints waiting in the things. Want to engage onto Zira. It's Gravitic Flux to try and shut down this engagement onto the Genji player. Zira with Blade in pocket looks to ward them away, but Vision got caught in rotation by the Flux. Now Saints down one of their most clutch members, needs to find something big, and Tree shows up, the other member of the team that could get it done. Hacking and slashing in Zero, trying to get something done amidst the captive stone and the Gravitic Flux, but is unable to. Sam comes in for the follow-up, does so rightly. Now it's about pushing this cart through. Easier said than done. There's a decent bit of distance to cover, and the spawns will get there.
Dagger coming out there, no meter in this fight. So close is Saints. They're pushing forward. Afterlife, they're going to be falling here.
Yeah, it's that Meteor pick. Meteor being so far back. Now we play for the yellow box, though. And if Saints get held here, they are kicking themselves for allowing that much distance to go through on the B point. That, I mean, it is a rough one to go out on if it happens that way.
Yeah, that could absolutely be the thing that allows Afterlife to steal away this map. They just need the one fight win. Saints, on the other hand, they know it's the same for them, but this is just a much better position for Afterlife to be in than what they otherwise were in. Captive Sun at the ready, Ant Matrix at the ready as well. Sam, I mean, I gotta say it, it's not one kill. He needs more than one kill for Saints to be able to clutch this up.
A lot of pressure on one player. All those hours in Contenders, Owls and Owl. Give you the experience you need to take on moments like this. Blade through, flashes onto one, looking for the second another the Ilari. Oh! That's both supports, that might be enough! It's everybody's exposed now! Iron down, Lethal goes, and Saints pull up when it matters!
Unbelievable, 29 final blows for Zira. He did the thing, but unfortunately didn't get the win. I mean, that triple threat of Saints is just so hard to contest. 20 final blows for Vision, 21 final blows for Sam, 14 for Tree, and then 6-2 for False and Vega. I mean, that triple threat is insane. So difficult to deal with. Afterlife, they got so close on 3 separate maps. All 3 of them, we saw them just tooth and nail clawing in on Saints. Zera, what a performance. Unfortunately for Afterlife, that's it for them, though.
Yeah, I mean, they put everything in. They put on some really, really sick performances. I think they've showed us kind of an encapsulation of what this meta is meant to be, right? Saints, Wisp, Pirates, and Pajamas have kind of been playing everything across the board, still relying on their flexibility to get a lot of the job done, but Afterlife has fully embraced it and showed us a lot of what it can do.
Yeah, and I'm a little hurt right now because I wish we could have gotten to see Afterlife versus O3 Splash, seen what that looked like, seen Afterlife against some of the other teams.
Be, though. Like, look, someone's got to go out.
So that's the thing about NA is that it just feels like whoever goes out at this point. I mean, even Amplify did so well. They took a map against Wisp, they dominated Good Boys, and then they played O3 Splash to 5 maps, and we didn't even really get to see them. I mean, that's the hard part about covering NA is that there is just so much talent, and unfortunately, at some point, someone has to go. Afterlife is the team to go right now. I mean, wish them the best of luck in the future because that is an incredible team that just gets, taken out early by a Saints team that, like we've talked about, could very well be a grand finalist should things go their way next week.
I mean, there's a lot of Overwatch yet to be played, right? You still have to take on O3 Splash and then potentially Pirates and Pajamas, maybe even Wisp again. Like, that is...
Yeah. Good luck.
The top 4 here is so difficult. And, you know, we kind of set up, you know, everybody's coming into this, anybody can win on any given Sunday type thing, and it really is true. These teams are taking maps off of each other rightfully. But when you look at the top 4 here, and you look at what they can get done, and you look at how close it is between the 4 of them, even coming out of qualification stage, they were tied in virtually every way humanly imaginable. This is the top 4 that was meant to be here, and I cannot wait to see what they have to offer. But one of the people that offered up their spot, that is able to take that claim now and say, you know what, we did at least get to that top 4. We'll be talking to it just a bit, so take a break here. We'll come back with an interview.
Do you like solving problems? Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline? I know just what you're thinking. You'll bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
Welcome back, everybody. Promised an interview, and of course we got one. We got Tree in the booth to talk to a little bit. Tree, won't hold you too long because I'm sure it's been just as long as night for you as it has been for us. But I do want to ask, before we get into the game that we just watched, what's the night been like in general? Because it has been a roller coaster watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that first match, we have a common thing whenever we lose a match that we always just lose to ourselves. Like we weren't playing like scrims. We're kind of just panicking, playing flustered. But in a way, like the length of that series kind of like smoothed us out a little bit and helped us like regain for the second one, which I think is why it was so easy for us in the second one. We're just more calm playing our game, not like panicking and stuff.
Yeah, obviously that's a tough loss to have, but we actually were talking to Rocket a little bit after the match. I don't know if you even got to catch any of that, but they all kind of felt the same way, that you guys are an incredible team. They fully expect, and now we expect as well, that this is that moment where States, you guys take your loss, you move on. Now it's time to make those adjustments, and now you're going to be that team that kind of just absolutely wrecks everyone. Is that kind of the impression that you get right now, especially now that you guys have locked in a more calm demeanor? Maybe just be tired next time. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we always are due for one loss in the upper bracket, and then we run it back through losers and win it all. So I'm expecting us to do the same.
I mean, you guys have got it in you, and you held on today, and I think today was about as tough as it gets in terms of mental, in terms of what you have to take on, right? There's plenty of tough teams ahead. This top 4 is as stacked as it's ever been in terms of the quality of teams that you'll have to take on in the future, but getting past the first game tonight and coming into this one, obviously tired, feel like you're playing a little bit cleaner, but is there a certain level of relief to not get kind of wombo comboed 1-2'd?
Yeah, for sure. Playing 2 matches when you face elimination the same day is a little tough, but yeah, I'm definitely glad we did not go out in one day.
Yeah, it seems like that's a resounding point that we keep hearing. We heard it even Zolik, I think, yesterday, did the exact same thing. It's just trying to avoid that 1-2, but nonetheless, give us a little bit of insight, because we did talk to Rocket. His impression was that it's pretty likely that we see that rematch as a grand final. Are you guys kind of feeling the same way, that it's going to be Wisp at the end and you guys there as well, or is there that much parity that it could be anyone?
I think it'll be Wisp, I'm not gonna lie. I think us and them are like the only teams close to each other, and I think there's like a tier break between everyone else.
Do you feel like that was something coming out of qualifiers, or do you think that's just been in the recent meta with everything?
Yeah, in the recent meta for sure. The meta changed so much. It's so different.
Now, are you guys kind of seeing that this is happening like pretty quickly, or have you guys been kind of locked in? Because I know I was hearing some stuff last week, seeing some stuff as well, and I would say this week looks pretty different than 7 days ago, obviously. But over the last 3-4 days, are you guys feeling like more locked in now, or is stuff still kind of in flux, still kind of changing, especially after the loss today?
Yeah, I think meta is kind of changing still. Like, I think we realized kind of like snipers are pretty broken still, especially with all the Sigma and the Orisa. So I think
we're seeing more vision now.
Yeah, for sure. The Hamza is just broken. You can just get so many picks, and it's hard to like fight angles as strong with a soldier instead of a Hamza, because you just have that one shot.
I mean, speaking of snipers being strong, we haven't talked enough about, I think, what you got to get done, which is not only play flex support, which we'll get to later, but let's talk about the crime that Saints have, one of the most insane DPS rosters we've ever seen, and you guys get to field 3 of them. Does that feel like cheating? Because it feels like cheating when we're watching it.
I mean, I'm not going to say I got extremely lucky with the new hero, and the convenient timing of me having to offer after we lost Cal, but it is what it is.
I'll say it. You got lucky, man.
Yeah, they do a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's working out for you guys, though. We're going to kind of cut this pretty soon here. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to get to bed. I mean, it's pretty late for us, pretty late for you guys. But before we let you go, I mean, give us a little bit of insight in terms of where you guys are at. Obviously you got collegiate stuff coming up pretty soon. You guys have obviously a lot of focus on this. Where are your heads at? How confident are you going into the rest of this tournament and into the future in fall as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident for Contenders, for Contenders we'll smooth things out within like the next week and be ready for our next matches. We should go pretty far in this tournament. And then for collegiate, yeah, we have a ton of roster changes, so I'm looking forward to that as well. New people.
Yeah, exciting stuff for you guys, and honestly, even within the day, exciting stuff to end on. Congratulations on putting a good note on things, heading into next week, and best of luck taking on those other 3 teams, because like you said, man, it's close stuff up there.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, Hurix, it has been a heck of a day, but I think after 2 insane series, that first one, oh my, that is one of the best series I've had the pleasure of casting in a long time. Those 2 just kept going at it. And expect more of those, because the teams are just going to get closer. It's interesting, Tree's talking about the tier break there. I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out, whether that's true. I think a lot will be said kind of in the upcoming match between Pirates and Pajamas and Wisp. That is a big definer for me of kind of the texture of things overall, but that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, I think the next 2 matches actually really could help to define things, because I mean, even Saints 03 Splash could prove to be pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how that one's going to go. 03 Splash was a pretty dominant team in groups. They're going to have more time as well to adapt into this meta. Should they have been behind in the last couple of days, well, they can shore up those disadvantages and turn things around. We'll have to see what kind of preparation happens here. Obviously, we know Wisp is a team that is doing a lot of that preparation, but what a bracket it's been. What a roller coaster ride it's felt like through this bracket, but that is what we expected. coming in at the top of the broadcast yesterday, and that is definitely delivered. Why don't we take a quick look at it, what things are going to look like? It should be pretty obvious what the schedule is going to look like now. There really aren't any, many options, but we are going to be picking back up on the 28th. That's going to be Pip versus Wisp, Saints versus O3 Splash, and you definitely want to make sure you see those matches, because again, these are going to be major tests for what to expect for what could be our grand final.
Yeah, I think Tree just incidentally kind of placed a lot of pressure on top of Wisp by saying there's a tier break there.
Well, Wisp did the same thing to Rocket did the same thing to Saints, so I guess it's all is fair, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. A lot of pressure on those two in particular to prove that right. Pip and O3 Splash, though, are still going strong. Let's take a look at what's happening over in EU, though, because we got 2 matches for you there as well. Same day, just a little bit earlier. Set your alarm clocks, wake up like responsible people, and be there for Twisted Minds versus Ex Oblivione, as well as Team Peps versus SR Peak Check.
Yeah, this is going to be great as well. I mean, really couldn't ask for better for NA and EMEA as well. Europe is looking so good. You see Team Pep's going to be taking on SR Peak Check. That is a rematch. That was a 5-map set.
That was a banger.
That was incredible. Now we get to see the rematch after Team Pep's just came back against Oh Yeah and had a great match there. I mean, that match in particular is going to be fantastic. We also get to see the 2 dominant forces at the top, Twisted Minds versus EXO. You cannot ask for better. There are different questions being asked, but the same exclamation point is being said in the fact that there's some great matches that will be taking place next week.
That's my favorite part about EU, though, is like we have like the super intense meta figuring out in NA, and then we just get a nice little palate cleanser in EU, and the competition's just as high, right? It's great to get that diversity brought to us, and if you want to keep an eye on both EU and NA, make sure you hit the follow button, subscribe button, everything that you might do to make sure that you don't miss the broadcast, and we'll do our best to notify you. But until then, guys, next week, see you then.
Oh, hello! Fancy meeting you here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife. For your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression, letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.